Su-yun travels through the Douqi Continent, awakens the system, and fights through the sky with his foresight. Ding! Scanning the ring, successful scan, detected the soul body of medicine elder, ding. Can extract the lifelong memory of the medicinal herb, do you want to extract it? Ding! Extraction completed. It has been placed in the system warehouse. Su-yun was overjoyed, his eyes shining green, and he extended his sinful hands towards the Douqi Continent, ding. Scan first level magic core, do you want to recycle it? Ding. Scan the associated amethyst source, do you want to recycle it? Ding. Scan the Qinglian Dixin fire, do you want to recycle it? Keywords of the novel. Do-pa. Obtain all memories of Yao Lao at the beginning without a pop-up window. Do-pa. Obtain all memories of Yao Lao at the beginning. Download the complete set of TXT. Do-pa. Obtain all memories of Yao Lao at the beginning. Latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. The Qi of 3-stage fighting at the age of 6. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. The Qi of 3-stage fighting at the age of 6. Douqi Continent, Gamma Empire, an inconspicuous low-rise house in a small alley of Yutun City. A child aged 5 or 6 sits cross-legged. Place specific fingerprints in front of your body with both hands, and your chest slightly undulates. Breath and inhale, forming a cycle. During the breath cycle, white air flows through your mouth and nose, penetrating your body. It is not difficult to understand what this child is doing in this Douqi Continent. This is a common Douqi cultivation method in Douqi Continent. Ha! Su-yun opened his eyes and stopped practicing today. He has been in this Douqi Continent for 6 years, and it has been 2 years since he started practicing at the age of 4. Just like Xiao Yan in the original work, because of his 2 generations, his soul is stronger than that of ordinary people, and his cultivation talent has risen with the tide. Su-yun's cultivation talent is also not low. In addition, with an adult's mind, unlike a true 6-year-old kid who is playful and has been practicing hard for 2 years, he has developed the aura of 3 Dan Do when he is only 6 years old this year. I just don't know, how high is the talent for the 3rd stage of the 6-year-old Do Qi? Su-yun muttered to himself. He was born into poverty and has no background. He, who has read the original work thoroughly, knows that the power of Douqi Continent is paramount, and the weak are the strong. Therefore, he has not had much contact with his peers. Just practicing hard in seclusion, trying to improve your strength as much as possible. So, I don't know how talented the 6-year-old Douqi Qi Sanduan is. But on second thought, at the age of 6, there are 3 levels of Do Qi. Even if one level is promoted every year, after the age of 12, one's cultivation can reach the height of the 9th level of Do Qi. This is not low anymore. You should know that at the beginning of the original work, Xiao Suner, who was 14 years old and had a 9 Dan fighting spirit, was already the 2nd person in the Xiao family in 100 years. At the age of 6, there is no shortage of talent in the 3rd stage of Douqi Qi. Then my talent is also decent. Hey! After a moment's thought, Su-yun sighed and realized that he was not much different from Xiao Yan in terms of qualifications. But I may not be able to match this little fellow villager. Get off the bed, pick up the white mantu on the wooden table, and secretly sigh that he does not have such good luck. Xiao Yan is a member of the Xiao family, one of the 8 ancient tribes. Even if he declines, he is still one of the 3 major families in Wutan City. As the young leader of the Xiao family, at least he doesn't have to worry about food, clothing, and expenses. It's like living in a shabby hut and eating white mantu. He was born as a commoner in this life. His father had a slightly higher cultivation and was a 3-star fighter, while his mother was only in the stage of fighting energy. His family's income mainly comes from his father's hunting of low-level warcraft, while his mother does miscellaneous work to support the wealthy family in the city of Yutun. Despite barely making a living, one can still save some spare money. But when he was 4 years old, his father was killed in the Warcraft Mountains, and his mother, due to excessive sadness, accompanied him the next year. His days became even more difficult. This is just a matter of family background. He, Xiao Yan, is the destined protagonist of Douqi Continent, with fate in his possession, as long as we endure for 3 years, with medicine dust as our teacher and burning decision as our punishment, Xiao Suner and his many beautiful confidants will help us embark on the pinnacle, advance to the throne, soar to the heights, and become a reliable winner in life. Suyun thought sourly. As both earth trekkers, he couldn't help but compare himself with Xiao Yan. After traveling for 6 years, his system has not yet settled down, and this gap. Suyun shook his head, no longer thinking about what he had or didn't have. Instead of thinking about everything, it was better to take action and be down to earth. After silently eating the mantu in his hand, Suyun fell into meditation again. For the next few years, it's better to stay in this city of Yuten and endure hard work. Genius returns to genius, but the energy of the 3 duels cannot be dissipated. Although this Wutan city is a bit remote, apart from Xiao Suner's guard Lingying, the strongest is only De Doshi, but public security is still acceptable. As long as you don't provoke those playboys, have no grudges against the big family, and as a commoner, no one will talk to you. Su Yun's parents have been honest throughout their lives and have never had such concerns. As for Su Yun, a 6-year-old homestead boy who works hard, he won't leave home except for necessary supplies, and of course, there's no problem. Therefore, Su Yun plans to first raise his cultivation level before making any progress. His parents' savings in this lifetime are enough for him to spend a few years. The stage of Do Qi mainly involves expanding the meridians and forging the body, strengthening the veins, and laying the foundation for consolidating Do Qi in the body in the future. When practicing the Qi of Do, people are relatively young and their internal meridians are fragile, so they cannot use external forces to help. The demand for cultivation resources is almost non-existent, relying solely on his own hard work and talent. He doesn't have to worry about finding any cultivation resources, nor is he in a hurry to explore the Douqi Continent. Turning to his senses, he dug out a few coins from under the bed, walked through the gate, walked out of the alley, and headed towards the main street of Yuten City. The dry food at home has been consumed, and this time we are going out to purchase the quantity for the next 3 or 4 days. After walking out of the alley for about 10 minutes, he arrived at the local market in Yuten City. Of course, he didn't want to buy here. There are several such markets in Yuten City, controlled by 3 major families, and the goods sold are relatively precious, such as magic cores, weapons, jewelry made from magic cores, and some medicinal herbs. Obviously, it's not where Su Yun, this little vegetable chicken, should come now. It's just that this market is his only way to buy goods. If you want to go to a place where ordinary people sell goods, you have to pass through here. If you take a detour, you will have to walk for half an hour with his current strength. As soon as he entered this city, Su Yun walked side by side. This market is filled with mercenaries and merchants, selling items such as magic cores. Whether selling or buying things, there is undoubtedly cultivation in both. The guests who come and go in the hallway, and the owners who sell goods at the stalls, most of them have a cultivation level above that of a fighter, not something that a furry child with a fighting spirit of 3 levels can provoke. Although it is rare for people from the 3 major families to maintain order and cause trouble, it is not without them, let alone the inherent friction between the 3 major families. It is common for 3 families to curse and argue with each other, and the smell of gunpowder is flying everywhere. If you're not careful, just compete in the street. If you're affected and cry, there's nowhere to cry. Su Yun was reborn in the Douqi Continent, and of course he understood what kind of world it was. 2 generations of people are as stable as an old dog. Every time I pass through, I walk cautiously and quickly. It's not difficult to understand that he's just a genius, not a strong one. Not growing up is the best strategy. Passing through the market, buying food, and returning by the same route. Su Yun, as always, walked cautiously and quickly. Is this our neighborhood market? Yes, that's right here. This city is located south of Wutan City and is controlled by our Shao family. Su Yun returned to Fengshe and was about to return home to pursue his cultivation when he heard sporadic conversations in his ear and thought to himself, are they from the Shao family? He lived in the city of Yuten for 6 years, although the main gate remained open and the second gate remained unchanged. But the distribution of power in Wutan City is still known, and this city is the one that Shao Yan brought Shao Suner to in the original work. Su Yun looked up and saw 2 children of his age, 1 male and 1 female. Shaking his head, without much thought, he had nothing to do with the Shao family and there was no need to have any contact with them. Ding. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Obtaining the System. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 Obtaining the System. Ding, detected the person of destiny and meets the system activation conditions. Ding, the system has been successfully activated. Suddenly, as Su Yun and the Shao family approached each other within a meter, a mechanical and stiff reminder sound came to mind. System. Su Yun was taken aback and then ecstatic. After 6 years in Douqi Continent, the essential golden finger for crossing has finally arrived. Subsequently, a mysterious sensation entered Su Yun's brain. Su Yun closed his eyes and carefully understood. A glimmer of enlightenment flashed through my mind. This is the system conveying information to him. In no time, Su Yun opened his eyes again. This information is not extensive, it is just a brief introduction to the system's functions. He has been a person of 2 generations, and his soul power is also decent, so digestion is not difficult. This function is a bit rudimentary. However, if used well, there are also miraculous effects. Su Yun thought in his heart. At this point of system activation, Su Yun and the Shao family were already intertwined, going in the opposite direction. Wait, the person of destiny. Su Yun's eyes sparkled, Shao Yan. Su Yun turned to look at the boy between the 2 children and silently said, scan. Ding, scanning now. Scan successful. Subsequently, an information table visible only to Su Yun was suspended in the air. Name. Shao Yan. Gender. Male. Cultivation. Douqi Qi Sanduan. Skill. None. Fighting skills. None. Item. Mysterious ring. Sure enough, it's Shao Yan. There was a hint of clarity in Su Yun's eyes. In this Douqi Continent, only Shao Yan is worthy of being called a destined person. If he had known that he needed to encounter the so-called destined person to activate the system, he would have found ways to contact Shao Yan. However, it's not too late now. As for the little girl beside him, Su Yun knows who it is without a system scan. However, it doesn't have much to do with me. Su Yun shook his head without any intention of hugging his thighs. When there was no system before, not to mention now. Although this system is not satisfactory, it comes with its own prior knowledge and foresight. Not to mention 1 year of fighting, 3 years of fighting against the Emperor, 10 years of fighting against the Emperor, horses breaking through the sky. But in this continent of fighting spirit, there is still confidence to thrive. Su Yun may seem to have many thoughts and concerns, but in reality, it only takes a blink of an eye. Su Yun turned around and continued walking forward, but suddenly his footsteps stopped. If what I didn't remember is correct, in the original work, it is said that Shao Yan's mother passed away when he was 4 years old. That means the ring is already in Shao Yan's hands now. After thinking it through, Su Yun's hands trembled slightly, and the fiery eyes couldn't be concealed no matter what. Immediately turning around, green light appeared in his eyes, staring straight at Shao Yan's hands. Sure enough, there is a ring on Shao Yan's left ring finger. System, scan that ring. Su Yun drank in his heart. Ding, scan failed. The scanned item exceeds the scanning range. The system's prompt sound came to Su Yun's mind, and his excitement faded a bit. I took a few deep breaths and tried my best to regain calmness. Su Yun walked over to Xiao Yan and the others, and after estimating the distance, he continued to say to the system, "Scan that ring." Ding, scanning successful. Detected a sleeping soul body. Continue, scan that soul body, Su Yun continued. Ding, scanning now. Ding, scanning successful. Name. Yaochen gender. Male cultivation. Dozuan peak identity. 8th grade peak alchemist technique. Burning sun in the sky, earth level advanced fighting technique. Flame splitting and swallowing the wave ruler, ground level low. Level items. Bone spirit cold fire, Xuanzhong ruler, black magic cauldron, bone inflammation ring, scan the memory of medicinal dust. While giving instructions to the system in his heart, Su Yun's passion once again emerged in his eyes. Ding, the detection drug dust is in a dormant state, start scanning. Ding, scanning completed. Recycling. Ding, successful recycling, the drug dust memory has been stored in the system warehouse. An uncontrollable smile appeared at the corner of Su Yun's mouth. Suppressing the urge to burst into laughter on the spot, he immediately turned around and ignored the puzzled expressions of Xiao Yan and Xiao Suner, walking away quickly. Brother Xiao Yan, do you know this person? Xiao Suner asked Xiao Yan. I don't know. Xiao Yan shook his head, his heart filled with doubts like Xiao Suner. Just now Su Yun's gaze made him feel a bit uneasy. He had never met this little boy who was dressed shabby but looked like a porcelain doll. Anyway, let's go back quickly. We've been out for a long time, Xiao Yan said to Xiao Yener. Xiao Yan did not take Su Yun's strange behavior to heart. A stranger whom I have never met, just a trivial interlude. Returning home, Su Yun locked the door tightly and threw away the food in his hand, sitting on the bed immersed in the system. Sure enough, the first resident arrived in the empty system warehouse, a gray-white air mass. Is this the lifelong memory of Yao Lao? The first bucket of gold. Su Yun sighed. Transfer attention from the memory of the old medicine and return to the system. The functionality of this system is very simple, even to the point of being rudimentary. There are only 3. Scanning, recycling, and fusion. This feature means that there are more low-quality online games in previous lives than this. Su Yun couldn't help complaining about it. The ability of the 3 functions is also very simple, as the name suggests. Scanning, with Su Yun as the center, a visible image of Su Yun can be displayed for people and objects within a radius of 1 meter. Recycling, this function is built on the basis of scanning. Scanned items, including dead objects, temporarily unconscious and unresponsive living objects, can all be retrieved into the system's built.in system space. And integrating this feature, Su Yun is now planning to give it a try. Having a detailed understanding of the usage and conditions of integrating this function, Su Yun went out again and came to the neighborhood market, approaching each stall, carefully using the scanning function one by one, carefully selecting. Ding, scan to. Ding, scan to. Ding, scan to. Su Yun patiently waited. Ding, scan the bone washing flour. After hearing this, Su Yun's heart moved and he glanced at the vendor of the stall without leaving a trace. How much does this Huanglian Jing cost? This thing costs 100 gold coins. Feasible. Seeing that the vendor didn't pay attention here, Su Yun's heart twitched. Recycling. Su Yun glanced at the system warehouse and saw that the bone washing flour was lying peacefully there, immediately leaving the crime scene. Once successful, Su Yun followed the method and obtained the medicinal herbs and magic cores he needed from other stalls. Su Yun is used to being careful and only takes one type from each stall. This market is huge, and it is common for ordinary stalls to occasionally lose 1 or 2 things. Returning home again, closing the doors and windows tightly, and confirming that there was no one around, Su Yun began to count the gains. 3 complete purple-leafed orchids, 2 bone-washing flowers, 1 wooden first-level magic core, and 1 second-level magic core. A faint smile flashed at the corner of Su Yun's mouth, and there was only one step left. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Foundation Building Liquid, Promotion. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 Foundation Building Liquid, Promotion. System: search for the memory of the old medicine and extract the prescription of the foundation building spirit liquid, Su Yun said in his mind. Ding, searching, search successful. Su Yun mobilized his thoughts and lightly tapped on the prescription: 3 purple-leaved orchids, 2 bone-washing flowers, and a wooden level 1 magic core. Fusion, Su Yun said in his heart. Ding, we have detected a fusible solution and need to pay for a second-level magic core. Do you want to pay? Payment. Immediately, a mysterious aura rose, and the medicinal herbs and magic cores in the warehouse also disappeared. Instead, a droplet of jade-colored liquid is suspended in the system warehouse. Su Yun's mind twitched as the jade liquid fell into the basin of clear water that Su Yun had just prepared. Suddenly, a clear basin of water turned blue. Su Yun took off his clothes, jumped into it, and began practicing. One night passed in a daze. Su Yun sat naked in a wooden basin with his legs crossed, his hands forming strange knots in front of him, his eyes tightly closed, and his breathing steady. As the cultivation time passed, the green liquid in the wooden basin gradually emitted a faint airflow, with a slight greenish hue. The airflow slowly climbed up and finally followed Su Yun's breath and penetrated into his body. As the airflow entered, Su Yun's tender little face suddenly emitted a warm jade-like luster. Ha! Slowly opening his eyes, a comforting smile rose on his delicate face. Standing up, letting the splashes of water fall from his body, he stretched lazily and felt the filling of fighting energy in his body. He exclaimed in surprise, This. The chi of 4-section fighting. No wonder Xiao Yan can rely on this spiritual liquid to continuously soar in 4 stages a year. Although it was due to his renovation, the effect of this foundation building liquid is truly astonishing. It's not surprising that he has short knowledge. After coming to this Douqi Continent, he truly felt how difficult it is to cultivate in the Douqi stage. Previously, it was easy to say, but during the Douqi Qi stage, there is a water-splitting ling every 3 stages. He completed the 3rd stage of Dou Qi and filled his body with Dou Qi. It has been 2 months since he impacted the 4th stage of Dou Qi, but it has been ineffective. Now, after using the foundation building spirit liquid to cultivate for 1 night, it has broken through to the 4th level of Dou Qi. Although there is a reason for the accumulation in the past, the divine effect of the foundation building spirit liquid cultivated in the Douqi Qi stage is beyond doubt. The fusion function of this system is also magical, and since it is fusion, it should not be limited to synthesizing pills. A hint of contemplation flashed in Su Yun's eyes. The fusion function is similar to Su Yun's previous synthesis of foundation building liquid, which can integrate all things. However, there are also corresponding limitations and costs. Limitations are the feasibility of fusion solutions, and the cost is the magic core. In the information that came to mind earlier, it was explicitly stated that fusion requires the consumption of magic cores. Moreover, the higher the level of the fused product, the higher the level of the magic core. According to Su Yun's speculation, fusion should require energy consumption, but what puzzled Su Yun was that it seemed that only the magic core could be consumed for fusion. Su Yun couldn't figure it out for a while. Shake your head and don't dwell on these details. Originally, he planned to participate in the enrollment of Canaan College and join Canaan College when he reached the level of 8 Dan Dou Qi. Before the age of 18, reaching the enrollment line of the 8-section fighting Qi, even without the foundation building spirit liquid, was easy for him. He was not born into a big family, and the best martial arts technique left to him by his parents is Huang Jie's intermediate level, Lai Yan Gong. If you want to learn higher level martial arts and combat skills, you must join a sect or academy. This Canaan college is famous throughout the continent, and even in Zhongzhou, it has a considerable reputation, so it is naturally the first choice. This is also an inevitable thing. In this land of fighting spirit, for a talented commoner like him, joining the academy is the best choice. But now it's different. He has already obtained the system and has a lifelong collection of medicinal herbs as a backing. The time to join Canaan Academy can be postponed. However, it is necessary to enter the Canaan Academy. Falling heart inflammation. Su Yun fell into contemplation and overturned the previous plan of joining the Canaan Academy with the 8 Dan Douqi. He has all the memories of Yao Lao, and there is no need to worry about high-level martial arts. Joining Canaan Academy can be temporarily postponed. Even if he has a fire attribute constitution, he wants to practice burning judgment. As the greatest golden finger of Xiao Yan in the original work, burning judgment is false when it comes to not moving one's heart. It can devour beast fire and abnormal fire to enhance cultivation, allowing people to control various abnormal fires. If conditions permit such bugs, they naturally want to cultivate. But for the time being, we have to go. There is no setting that only the fire attribute can still refine abnormal fire. If he doesn't have the attribute of fire and can't repair burning judgment, he can only absorb one type of abnormal fire, then falling heart inflammation is the first choice. The Tianfen refining tower in Canaan's inner courtyard has such a divine effect. If there is a complete falling heart flame, the cultivation speed will definitely be amazing. I met Xiao Yan in Fangshe before, and he looks like he should be the same age as me. Su Yun pinched his finger and calculated the time. In the past 6 years, in this city of Yutun, he not only did not hear the name of Xiao Yan's genius as an 11-year-old fighter, but also there were no rumors of the waste of the 3 stages of Douqi. Today's meeting helped Su Yun determine the current timeline. This can be considered a good thing for him. If the plot doesn't start, the herbs and martial arts in the caves of Qingshan town, as well as the Qinglian earth heart fire in the Tagore desert, all have a series of opportunities. At that time, that little girl should have been Xiao Suner. Indeed, it looks almost 1 year younger than Xiao Yan. Su Yun raised his right hand and pressed his head. This broken system doesn't even display his age, so he has to estimate it himself. Negative review. If he remembers correctly, Xiao Suner was sent to the Xiao family by Gu Yuan when she was 4 years old. That means she has just been sent to the Xiao family for about a year now, and Xiao Yan looks the same age as him, about 6 years old. Basically right. Su Yun put down his finger and began to recall. He was born again and realized that this was the world of fighting against the sky. He consciously recalled the plot he had seen in his past life. At that time, I also read it several times, excluding some details. I remember the plot and many settings. If there is no memory error, Xiao Yan practiced qi at the age of 4, possessed the qi of Zhudan Dou at the age of 10, and successfully condensed the cyclone of Dou at the age of 11, becoming a Dou master. Afterwards, he was directly squeezed dry by the medicine elder, and every time he squeezed it, it lasted for 3 years. Xiao Yan's cultivation level declined from Dou Ren to Dou Ji Qi, and over the past 3 years, the newly cultivated Dou Ji Qi was immediately sucked away. Cultivation doesn't even drive it. And 3 years later, there was a wave of divorce, a 3-year agreement. At the age of 11, his cultivation began to decline, and he was drained for 3 years afterwards. So, did the plot officially start when Xiao Yan was 14? Is that so? Su Yun couldn't help but frown. No, it should be a breakthrough fighter in his 11th year old, and then he was squeezed for more than 3 years before he got it right. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Asceticism. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Asceticism. Su Yun remembered, this is a detail. Most of the details Su Yun couldn't remember clearly, but this detail appeared in the first 3 chapters of the article, and he had a deep impression and remembered it. A little more here, a little more over there, just at the beginning of the plot, Xiao Yan was 15 years old. There are still 9 years left, Su Yun thought. No wonder he calculates time so tightly. He is a small commoner with no support, only an outdated system. If he wants to grow up, he should be free-spirited in this competitive continent, and the opportunity to intercept the protagonist is the safest way. People are not for themselves, heaven and earth will perish. Practice knows no years, and in the blink of an eye, 1.5 years have passed. Ha! This foundation-building spirit liquid can be consumed really quickly. Looking at the clear and bottomed basin again, Su Yun's eyes were gloomy and he sighed. This foundation-building spiritual liquid can only allow him to practice for 2 months at a time, and every 2 months, he has to visit the stalls in the neighborhood. Think about it and feel a little guilty. Getting up, putting on his clothes, he walked towards the neighborhood again. With the support of all the vendors, his cultivation results are gratifying. After a year and a half of hard work, his cultivation level had just broken through to the chi of 7 Dan Do 7 days ago. This result is not as good as Xiao Yan's, but it's not too slow. Xiao Yan laid a solid foundation after standing still for 3 years, and due to his heavy training, he was able to ascend from the 3rd stage of Do Qi to the 4th stage in a year and reach the 7th stage of Do Qi. He didn't waste any time for 3 years. Within a year and a half, he went from the 4th stage of Do Qi to the 7th stage of Do Qi, and then to the 3rd stage of Do Qi. It was already satisfying to have such cultivation before the age of 8. In the original work, even Xiao Yan's fiancée A.E. Nalin Yenran, who was only 12 years old, had a fighting spirit of 8 stages. Even the young masters of the Tang dynasty's Yunlan sect were just like this, let alone other so-called handsome young men in the Gama Empire. Su Yun's cultivation has already surpassed his peers by a whole street. The market he came to this time is not the one from the Shao family before. He has only achieved a little now, and being careful is still his first principle. He collects materials for the foundation-building spirit liquid every 2 months, taking turns visiting the market of Yutun City, just to be careful. Although there is little possibility of being discovered when recycling from a distance of 1 meter, being careful is not a big mistake. The consumption of this foundation-building spiritual liquid is quite fast, and he has collected materials more times in this way. The operation is naturally easy to handle, and after arriving at the market, it is basically collected in no time. It's just that the last bone washing flower has a first-order magic core. Su Yun read in his heart. There's one here. Su Yun's eyes lit up. The owner of this stall is yawning. Taking advantage of this time, Su Yun directly activated the scanning and recycling function to take it into his pocket. After receiving it, Su Yun walked past the stall as if nothing had happened. Oh, I remember there was another bone washing flower just now, why hasn't it been seen? Upon hearing the sound coming from behind, Su Yun still had no reaction. I have encountered similar situations before. But he walked well in the hallway, without touching anything at the booth, and naturally did not arouse any suspicion. Looking back at the vendor, he was so anxious that he scratched his ears and cheeks, searching around. Su Yun sighed and silently recited his guilt and wrongdoing in his heart. After muttering a sentence in his heart, Su Yun put his sins behind him and no longer defended himself. Find your last ingredient in this market. Su Yun's heart moved. 3 men suddenly walked in front of Su Yun, with the man in the middle dressed in luxury and the other 2 walking on both sides, occupying a relatively backward position. Obviously, he is the young master of an unknown family. Well, this jewelry is good, I'll take it. The luxurious young master looked left and right, picked up a bracelet casually from the stall, and stuffed it into his pocket. Zhang Yu, pay. One of the guards took out a gold coin from his pocket and threw it onto the stall, and then the 3 of them flew away. Su Yun raised his eyebrows, and the bracelet was adorned with a first-order water magic core. Such jewelry and weapons adorned with magic cores cost 1,000 gold coins even if they are first-order magic cores in this Douqi continent. Well, hey. The vendor's face was ugly, but he dared not say anything. No passers-by passing by were seen either. Su Yun looked at the man and silently said, "Scan. Name. Galio gender. Male cultivation. 6 stages of Douqi Chi skill. None fighting skills. None Galio." That's the dragon trap in the original work that covets Shao Suner. Su Yun thought. He has an impression of this Galio, a villain in the early stages with no role to play. The talent is not good enough. He looks 13 or 14 years old and only has a 6 Dan fighting spirit, Su Yun sneered in secret. If he let others know his thoughts, he would probably vomit 3 liters of blood. Galio's talent is not low anymore. At the beginning of the plot in the original work, Galio, at the age of 20.2 or 3, surpassed the Star One and was already considered above average in the small town of Yutun. Su Yun has always been comparing himself to the arrogance of Shao Yan and Shao Suner in his heart, unconsciously ignoring the average level of the Gama Empire. This Douqi continent is really a jungle, and Galio, who comes from 3 major families, is in his own neighborhood. This stall owner can only bear this hidden loss. Seeing this scene, Su Yun's desire for strength increased in his heart, and he observed a 3-second silence towards the vendor. Without meddling, Su Yun wandered around the city for a while and used the system to collect a first-order wooden magic core before leaving the city. Returning home, Su Yun sat on the ground and did not immediately start practicing. "I have already reached the 7th level of Douqi, and with my cultivation speed, I have reached the 9th level of Douqi in just 1 or 2 years. Su Yun is thinking about condensing the Douqi cyclone. To become a fighter in this Douqi continent, one must condense the Douqi cyclone within their body. However, the cyclone of the condor has a significant failure rate. After failure, the energy of the 9 Dan Do will drop back to the 8 Dan. Some unlucky people may gather more than 10 times without success, which is also true. Don't think about gathering chi and dispersing," Su Yun sighed. Although he has a systematic and lifelong memory of medicine, the issue of resources is his pain point. Even the medicinal herbs and magic cores of the foundation building spirit liquid were stolen by him through the system, which has obvious drawbacks. Magic cores above the 3rd level and herbs refined to the 3rd level are basically not visible in this market. As for imitating Shao Yan to go to the auction house, it's not impossible. But the Mitel auction house in Yutun City didn't gather any gas to disperse either. Su Yun didn't dwell on this matter for long. He had the foundation building liquid, and even if he failed a few times, it would be easy to rebuild. By fusing the foundation building spirit, Su Yun once again fell into asceticism. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. 3 years, Breakthrough Fighter. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. 3 years, Breakthrough Fighter, In a low house in the alley, Su Yun is absorbing the energy of a bucket. The pale energy airflow seeped out of the air and then continuously surged into the boy's body. With the continuous influx of fighting energy, a hint of fatigue flashed on Su Yun's face. He released his hand gesture and stopped practicing. Su Yun stood up from the water basin, twisted his sore neck, stretched lazily, and heard a crackling sound of bones colliding. After obtaining the system, it has been about 3 years. Su Yun silently calculated the time. Although my system can no longer keep up with the times, I am unable to sign in, clock in, and play the role of a peerless powerhouse, just like the sky, earth, and air. But when used properly and combined with one's own prophetic abilities, the future is equally promising. Su Yun walked out of the gate and headed towards the street. This time, he was going to relax. In the past 3 years, apart from necessary supplies, he hardly left his home. Now the cultivation has reached the 9th level of Douqi, and the Douqi in the body is full, making it impossible to enter. Just finished practicing and in poor condition, rashly attacking the opponent to gather the cyclone of the dough has a high possibility of failure. He needs to adjust his state. Since he knew this was the Douqi Continent, his mind has only been focused on cultivation, and he has not been too concerned about the surrounding environment. Nature doesn't have many friends in this city of Yuten, and he can't play with it at his age. His relaxation was just a leisurely stroll in the city of Yuten. After relaxing for an hour in the city of Yuten, Su Yun's mind became active again. 9 years old and 9 Dan fighting spirit, not to mention in this Gamma Empire, can be considered a genius even in Zhongzhou. Thanks to the foundation building spirit liquid, his current cultivation level has surpassed that of his peers, even Xiao Yan cannot match it. If he successfully condensed the Douqi cyclone in one go, he would have reached Douqi 2 years earlier than Xiao Yan. Su Yun's heart was filled with encouragement for herself. I am fortunate enough to be a member of the Pathfinder and have gained access to the system, successfully recovering the lifelong memories of the medicine elder. My luck is not too bad, right? No matter what, don't be timid. Even if you are sprayed with a fierce brush, you must strive for excellence. If a cyclone in a bucket cannot condense, why not hang up? After adjusting his form, Su Yun returned home and sat cross-legged. Taking a deep breath, I forcefully suppressed the restlessness in my heart and further adjusted my breath on the collapsed bed. After an hour, Su Yun finally adjusted his physical condition to the peak, which was the best time for him to challenge the fighter. Su Yun's face was calm, with no expression on her face. Her hands formed fingerprints that absorbed the dou qi, and her breathing gradually became stable. The faint dou qi in her body moved in response to her heart. In the room, the calm air surged violently, and a faint white fighting spirit seeped out of the air and penetrated into Su Yun's body. With the passage of time, the dou qi around him continued to pour in, and the scale of dou qi in Su Yun's body was slowly expanding. With the continuous injection of external fighting qi, Su Yun's internal fighting qi has gradually filled most of his veins. Feeling the condition inside his body, Su Yun took a deep breath and his fingerprint suddenly changed, forming a strange fingerprint on his 10 fingers. As the fingerprint changes, the surging douqi qi in the body feels like receiving a fierce suction, rapidly contracting towards the lower abdomen. When all the douqi qi had shrunk to the lower abdomen, the pale douqi qi had already begun to turn into milky white. Su Yun felt the faint white fighting energy tilting in the veins of his body, condensing his mind and using his extraordinary soul power to compress the fighting energy in his body. The milky white fighting aura in the lower abdomen began to resist, constantly churning violently. The power of resistance is not weak, but Su Yun and his 2 generations are almost 30 years old combined, and his soul power can be considered outstanding in the 9th stage of douqi qi. After a slight standoff between the 2 forces, the fighting energy continued to contract. Time has passed for an unknown amount of time, and a soft muffled sound quietly resounds inside my body. With the muffled sound, the sense of resistance dissipated out of thin air. With a heavy sigh of relief, Su Yun's chest heaved violently. Lying in bed, sensing the abundant energy in his body, Su Yun's lips lit up with a smile. Just as he was about to get up, a drowsiness surged in his heart and he fell asleep. This sleep lasted all night, and Su Yun woke up the next morning. The dawn slowly opened, and the newborn sun shone on the boy's cheeks. A few sparrows were chirping by the window. On the bird's nest outside, the young chicks have abundant wings and cannot soar for thousands of miles without worrying. Su Yun let out a light breath, moved his slightly sore legs, and sat cross-legged. With his eyes slightly closed, Su Yun's mind gradually sank into his body. Internally, this is a skill that can only be mastered at the level of a fighter. The higher the strength, the more thorough the exploration of the situation inside the body. At the point where the mind sinks into the lower abdomen, a palm-sized milky white cyclone is slowly spinning, enveloping a layer of nebular-like milky white energy gas around the periphery of the cyclone. Su Yun nodded in satisfaction as he gazed at the small cyclone in his heart. Although the volume of the current cyclone is very small, the energy contained in it is not comparable to that of the previous Douqi Qi period. The Douqi stage is almost fundamentally different from the Douqi stage. The energy absorbed by the fighter before is called Douqi, while the energy absorbed by the fighter after is the true Douqi. Although there is only a one-word difference between the two, the difference cannot be summarized in just one or two words. The tightly closed eyes suddenly opened, and in Su Yun's deep pupils, a third of confidence flashed. The strength of the fighter is not only limited to the Douqi Continent, but also cannot be ranked high in this Yuten city. But the pleasure of promotion still gave him a hint of satisfaction. Even if it is weak, it is stronger than the stage of fighting Qi. Adjust your mindset and silently recite in your heart. Now is not the time to drift away, let go of the newly developed complacency, and Su Yun begins to flip through the memories of Yao Lao. The Douqi stage is different from the Douqi stage, and the Douqi technique can already be practiced. On the continent of Douqi, the yellow rank technique is rotten on the streets, and those above the Xian rank are not accessible to ordinary people. There are also combat skills. Those above the Xuanjia level must join a sect or academy to obtain them. Of course, if you have enough financial resources, you can also try your luck at the auction. Su Yun is not worried about this aspect. Alchemists, especially high-level alchemists, are not interested in gold coins. If you want high-level alchemists to help you refine elixirs, you must come up with chips that can impress them, and in this regard, martial arts and combat skills are particularly useful. As an 8th grade peak alchemist, Yao Lao's collection will not be small. The transition is naturally not a problem in the early stages. Wait. I don't know my attributes yet. Su Yun felt a surge of dizziness. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Properties. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Properties. Su Yun felt puzzled. In the original work, Xiao Yan tested his attributes in the Douqi pavilion of the Xiao family. As a commoner, I don't have the means to test myself. At a time of confusion, Su Yun thought of the system. Why don't you give it a try? Su Yun is an action-oriented person who does whatever he says. System, scan myself, Su Yun read in his heart. Ding, scan successful, name. Su Yun gender. Male cultivation. 1-star dipper skill. None fighting skills. None item. None. The system displays the Douqi attribute, Su Yun once again read in his heart. Ding, the attribute display is complete. Name. Su Yun gender. Male cultivation. 1-star dipper properties. Fire, ice, wood skill. None fighting skills. None item. None. That's really good, Su Yun sighed as he looked at the different information table from before. This system panel seems to have some information that needs to be triggered by itself. Fire, ice, and wood attributes. So I meet the requirements to become an alchemist. A hint of surprise flashed through Su Yun's heart. Although he can use the system to synthesize pills, each synthesis requires spending the corresponding level of magic core. It's okay to say that low-level pills, but that's when it comes to later stages. Su Yun shook his head at the thought. Since it meets the requirements to become an alchemist and has a foundation in the memory of the old medicine practitioner, it is necessary to refine medicine on your own. This system's integration function is indeed incredible, but the cost is too high. Upon reading this, Su Yun shifted his gaze to his own ice attribute. In the Douqi Continent, the attributes of the human body depend on their soul. A soul only has one attribute and generally does not have any other attributes inside. Of course, nothing is absolute. Among billions of people, there will always be some whose souls have mutated, and those who possess mutated souls will have two different attributes. Strong and weak. The alchemist is a great example. And looking at the system display, there are actually as many as 3 types of my own attributes. Su Yun, who had read the original work thoroughly, only knew that Feng Qing'er's situation in the original work was similar to his own. I just need to be much more special. Feng Qing'er has two uncontrollable dual attributes of wind and thunder, while her own fire-ice conflicts with each other, let alone her wood attribute. However, on the other hand, fire-wood also conflicts with each other. That shouldn't be a problem with incompatible attributes after all, every alchemist has both fire and wood attributes. It's just that the wood attribute is almost negligible. Is this the choice of this cultivation method? Su Yun feels his head is big. I originally planned to cultivate burning decision if it was a fire attribute, and choose the highest level cultivation for other attributes. Who knew I had an ice attribute? Speaking of which, can burning decision be integrated with other ice attribute techniques? Su Yun's mind was wide open, and then his eyes lit up. He could give it a try, but the technique wouldn't disappear anyway. Immediately, Xian clicked on burning decision and then on Jiuyo cold frost decision, the lowest level cultivation technique with the highest ice attribute in Yao Lao's collection. Restart the system fusion function. Ding, a fusible solution has been detected. Would you like to spend a 5th level magic core fusion? 5 levels. Su Yun's eyes were almost wide open. 5th level magic core. How can this make a relationship that even a 3rd level demon core has never seen before feel embarrassed? Su Yun was not discouraged by this, as the emergence of a fusible solution indicates that this path is feasible. Su Yun attempted to integrate the low-level ice attribute technique of the yellow rank with the burning decision. Ding, a fusible solution has been detected. Would you like to spend a 1st order magic core fusion? 1st order. Su Yun tried again. Integrate the ice attribute techniques from the intermediate level of the yellow rank. Ding, a fusible solution has been detected. Would you like to spend a 1st order magic core fusion? Still 1st order. Su Yun was taken aback. Once again, search for the cultivation method in the memory of the old medicine practitioner. This time it's a high-level yellow rank. Ding, a fusible solution has been detected. Would you like to spend a 2nd order magic core fusion? Su Yun didn't stop when he heard the system prompt sound, and then tried to merge the low-level ice attribute technique of the Xian level into burning decision. Ding, a fusible solution has been detected. Would you like to spend a 3rd order magic core fusion? 3rd order. Su Yun stopped trying. Although he has not yet understood the system's requirements for the magic core of skill fusion, he has no intention of trying it out. He currently only has a 2nd level magic core on his body, so understanding it is useless. It's not too late to have a higher level magic core in the future. Fusion. Su Yun silently recited in his heart. Ding, the fusion is complete. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the yellow level advanced technique. An inexplicable fluctuation came to Su Yun's mind. Shake your head and immerse your mind. Is this the new cultivation method? At half a sound, Su Yun frowned. This new cultivation method does not quite meet his expectations. This new technique retains the function of devouring the evolution of different fires in burning decision and has 2 attributes. Fire and ice. However, this dual attribute of fire and ice does not mean that he can possess the fighting spirit of combining wind and thunder attributes like the original work Feng Qing'er. That kind of fighting spirit has the characteristics of both wind and thunder attributes, which can greatly increase one's combat power. Although this new technique has both ice and fire attributes, it can only allow him to use both ice and fire attributes of Douqi alone, and cannot merge Douqi. Although it can make the enemy's methods diverse and flexible, it still did not meet Su Yun's expectations. Not bad either, Su Yun comforted himself. He took it for granted. In this Douqi Continent, there are undoubtedly few Do practitioners with dual attributes, and in the original work, there is also a Feng Qing'er. This new technique not only has the dual attributes of ice and fire, but also retains the function of devouring the evolution of different fires in burning judgment, making it already one of the best in the world. According to the description in the original work, burning judgment seems to be able to surpass the level of 8 extremes collapse. Su Yun was lost in thought. Yao Lao evaluated Xiao Yan's burning judgment when it was still a low-level Huangjie cultivation method, stating that the uniqueness of burning judgment can be comparable to the intermediate Huangjie cultivation method. Later, when devouring purple fire in burning judgment and evolving into a yellow-level intermediate skill, it was once again evaluated as comparable to the yellow-level advanced skill. This new cultivation method also possesses such transcendence. It can be comparable to the lower-level martial arts of the Xian level. Thinking about it, Su Yun's heart was much more satisfied. The martial arts and techniques that can surpass the level in the Douqi Continent are rare. Equivalent to the low-level cultivation of the Xuanjie level, it is already close to the ceiling in this Yutun city among the 3 major families. Only the Shao family's Mad Master Angry Gang is at the intermediate level of the Xian level, while the other 2 families are only at the lower level of the Xian level. Wait, what if I can use this technique to devour bone, spirit, and cold fire? Su Yun's eyes lit up. It is entirely possible for bone spirit cold fire to solve the problem of Douqi ice fire attributes. It has both the characteristics of fire and the coldness of ice, feasible. The more Su Yun thinks, the brighter his eyes become. Yao Lao is really a treasure boy. Hee, it seems like we're going to harvest wool again. Su Yun grinned. Let's give it a name first. Since you have both ice and fire attributes, it's called Burning Cold Judgment. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Bone Spirit and Cold Fire arrived in hand. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Bone Spirit and Cold Fire arrived in hand in the narrow room. Su Yun opened his eyes. The first conversion of Douqi won't take too long. Su Yun completed the conversion in just 1 hour. Next, it's time to consider our future cultivation. Su Yun does not intend to continue his undercover training in the city of Yutun. The flowers in the greenhouse are no match for wild grass that grows wild. He doesn't want to become an empty and aggressive waste. The strength of the fighter is still at the bottom level, but it is much better than the Douqi stage, and has already begun to gain strength in slightly remote areas. And during his years of acquiring the system, he discovered a life-saving means. System space. The system space can accommodate living creatures. And he only needs one idea to get into it. That is to say, as long as he does not encounter an enemy that will kill him in an instant, he will stand invincible. In the corner of the street facing the Shao family, Su Yun was quietly waiting in a black robe. The bone spirit and cold fire may merge the fire and ice attributes of burning cold Ju into one, and he cannot give up. Yao Lao only woke up when Xiao Yan was 15 years old, but in another 2 years, he could absorb Xiao Yan's fighting spirit. It is difficult to guarantee that he was truly unconscious at that time. Although he can't swallow the bone spirit cold fire now, it's always right to get it first. Time slowly passed by, and 7 days passed by in a blink of an eye. A boy about 10 years old slowly walked out. Scan, Su Yun read in his heart in the corner. He only met Xiao Yan once 3 years ago, and he couldn't remember his appearance clearly. During the 7 days of squatting, he had to scan almost every child who came out one by one, and there was no other way. Ding, scanning successful. Name. Xiao Yan. Gender. Male. Cultivation. 8 sections of Douqi skill. None fighting skills. None item. None. Finally, it's worth waiting for 7 days. Su Yun's eyes lit up under his black robe. System, scan that ring. Ding, scanning successful. Detected a sleeping soul body. Continue, scan that soul body. Su Yun continued. Ding, scanning now. Ding, scanning successful. Name. Yaochen gender. Male cultivation. Dozuan peak identity. 8th grade peak alchemist skill. Blazing sun and burning heaven decision, earth level advanced fighting technique. Flame splitting and swallowing the wave ruler, ground level low.level items. Bone spirit cold fire, Xuanzhong ruler, black magic cauldron, bone inflammation ring, scan the bone spirit cold fire. Ding, scanning now. Ding, scanning successful. Name. Bone spirit cold fire introduction. Ranking 11 on the abnormal fire ranking. The unique flame that combines extreme cold and extreme heat can only be encountered in places of extreme cold and extreme heat every 100 years when the sun and moon alternate. Recycle bone spirit cold fire. Ding, successful recycling. With the system prompt sound, bone spirit cold fire appears in the system warehouse. Su Yun in the corner grinned and turned to leave. The bone spirit cold fire, ranked 11th on the strange fire ranking, is indeed not something that a small one-star fighter can refine. But it does not hinder Su Yun's joyful mood of success. At the same time, Xiao Yan at the entrance of the Xiao family was also physically and mentally happy. At the age of 9, he was already full of the aura of 8 Dan Do, and could be said to have made a name for himself in the Xiao family. The peers in the clan all nodded and bowed when they saw him, and Xiao Mei, Xiao Suner, and a group of little lowlies surrounded him every day. Although he has little interest in little kids, his vanity has been greatly satisfied. Obviously, the future Emperor Yan did not experience a 3-year period of decline, and at this time, he was not as calm as the opening of the original work. Think about it too. An ordinary person from the 20th century who was mediocre and inexperienced, once traversed through time, was full of youthful vigor and contentment, which was already the norm. A king of Go, like Su Yun, who knows the cruelty of the world, takes it step by step, is as stable as an old dog, and is dedicated to cultivation. At this moment, Su Yun is on his way to Qingshan town. Going to Qingshan town for training was something he had planned for before. Firstly, the cave where the original work Xiao Yan and Xiao Yixin entered. There are quite a few good things there, whether it's flying combat skills, the pure lotus demon fire residual map, or the ice spirit flame grass, all of which must be obtained. Although this place was written poorly by the same people in their past lives. But since everything is written poorly, it undoubtedly represents the importance of this place. No matter how the dog author intends to write, Su Yun must go. In addition, the overall strength of the fighters in Qingshan town is very low. If we say that the ceiling of the mainland now consists of a dozen or so half-emperor level junior pills with 4 9-star battle saints, and those who add to the empire are terrifying battle emperor powerhouses. The ceiling of Qingshan town is Doshi. In Qingshan town, the star-rated fighters are the backbone. Just like the deputy commander of the wolf-headed mercenary regiment in the original work, Herman of the 8-star starfighter. It can be seen that the overall strength of Qingshan town is not that high. He is just a star fighter now, there is no need to go to too big a stage. Qingshan town is quite good. The burning cold technique is equivalent to the low-level martial arts of the Xian level, combined with the high-level combat skills collected by the medicine master. He can have good strength in Qingshan town by practicing well for a few months. Before the sky gradually darkened, Su Yun finally arrived at his destination. Su Yunlai's new environment is inevitably curious, and he looks around to see the charm of Qingshan town. In the small town, mercenaries who spend their days adding blood to their swords form groups, holding each other's arms and frolicking on the streets. Unconsciously discussing where the women in the town are the most flavorful, where the wine is the strongest, and where the warcraft is the most ferocious on both sides of the street. There are many shops, and due to the favorable location, their popularity is quite fierce. Su Yun's eyes wandered around the brightly lit shops with interest. But when his gaze fell on a spacious medicinal herb shop, he stopped. This herbal medicine shop is undoubtedly the 10,000 medicine studio. Su Yun has an impression of Wan Yaozhai. The little medical immortal with the poisonous body of calamity appeared here. However, there are still 6 years left until the start of the plot, and little Dr. Xian may not be able to see it. Shaking his head, there was no intention of entering. Xiao Yan's arrival in Qingshan town was the year after the plot began, and it was only 7 years away from now. The Blood Lotus spirit could not have appeared now. Continuing forward, after wandering around in Qingshan town for an hour, Su Yun began to relax. He always remembered the cruelty of the Douqi Continent and the purpose of coming to Qingshan town. The strength of a mere ant-like fighter cannot yet make him feel complacent. He is a pragmatic person and does not have any ideas of a foreign harem or a king seeking hegemony. He is not the protagonist, just a lucky ordinary person, as evidenced by the system that was delayed for 6 years. The top priority is to enhance one's own strength and live a good life in this foreign world. Nowadays, this humble path can be found everywhere in Qingshan town, let alone in other places. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Treasure Exploration. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Treasure Exploration. Find any inn to settle in, wash up a bit, and then cross-legged start practicing. It's already evening now, and he's preparing to start practicing in the Warcraft Mountains tomorrow. A night passed hastily, and Su Yun tidied up his clothes and opened the system. The system will transmit to me the experience of Yao Lao regarding medicinal herbs, cultivation, and experience. Ding, I'm organizing the memories of the medicinal dust. Ding, it's all sorted out. Ding, it's being teleported. Yao Lao's memory is so vast that even if he had some choices, it took Su Yun 2 hours to digest them all. Su Yun got up to move his muscles and walked towards the Warcraft Mountains. Through the transmission of the system, he experiences the process of becoming an old medicine practitioner and experiencing the experience of becoming an old medicine practitioner. The overall mastery level is also at a level of 60.7%, which can give him some confidence to go to the Warcraft Mountains. Come to the Warcraft Mountains. Su Yun took a deep breath. This time, different from the cultivation in Yutun City, there were countless people who lost their lives in the Warcraft mountain range. Despite his confidence, he remained nervous. How can we not hesitate about the threat of life and death as ordinary people who have traveled through peaceful times? Su Yun adjusted his mindset and stepped into the Warcraft Mountains. Without testing, how can one see growth? Practice has no time, and the practitioner knows no years. On the outskirts of the Warcraft Mountains, a figure dressed in a black robe holding a long sword jumps on trees and rocks. The figure seemed to have discovered something, and as the speed increased, the long sword swung horizontally at a sharp angle. Puff! The sword pierces into the flesh and bone. A flame leopard resting in the forest let out a mournful cry, struggling for a while without moving. Su Yun drew his long sword and brought the flame leopard into the system space. After looking around without anyone, his mind moved and he also entered it. I've finally finished collecting it. Su Yun, who entered the system space, took off his black robe and showed joy on his face. Extract the blood of flame leopard, take out various herbs, as well as the blood of other fire attribute warcraft. Take out the medicine cauldron again, and Su Yun begins to refine it. Since entering this mountain range of warcraft, cultivating fighting spirit and practicing fighting skills, it has been more than July. I also learned to refine medicine during this July time. Infusing Yao Lao's memory, he wants to learn how to refine medicine, which is much easier than others. With the memory of Yao Lao as the foundation, he only needs to practice his skills a little and become a first-class alchemist. As for his higher level, due to his fighting spirit cultivation, he can only temporarily stop. What he is currently refining is a first-grade pill called Flame Blood. This Flame Blood is composed of several different fire attribute herbs and 2 first-order fire attribute warcraft blood configurations. It can accelerate the cultivation speed of fire attribute fighters. This thing is a simplified version of burning blood. Burning blood is a 4th-grade pill. When Xiao Yan came to Qingshan town for training, the medicine elder prepared a mouthful for him to accelerate his cultivation. He doesn't have such good conditions. With an old man behind him, even the fusion function of the system can't be used. After all, it's a 4th-grade pill that requires a 4th-level magic core. We can only use the simplified version of flame blood. His fire and ice double cultivation in Burning Cold Dew is also effective when only using fire attribute combat skills. This thing is quite special. It may be called a pill, but it's actually not, it's a pill liquid. The same principle applies to the foundation building spirit liquid. This is already the 3rd time he has refined it. Nature is familiar with the road and can be refined in half an hour. Applying flame blood to his body, Su Yun let out a painful scream. This thing is really unbearable to anyone. Cross your knees to start practicing. After a night of cultivation, Su Yun left the system space and reappeared in the Warcraft Mountains. In the 7 months of practicing here, he has never entered the interior of the Warcraft Mountains. This cannot be blamed on him, at least the 3rd or 4th level Warcraft that can appear internally. His current physique is not even enough to fill his teeth. If you encounter a 2nd level Warcraft on the outskirts of the Warcraft mountain range, you have to hide in the system space. After 7 months of cultivation, it was only with his talent and the assistance of flame blood that he reached the level of a 5-star fighter. Fighting spirit cultivation is the fundamental. In July, comparable to the low-level, burning cold decision of the Xian level, coupled with the elective Xian level combat skills, it is not difficult to confront the fighters of 7 or 8 stars. But against 2nd level monsters that are comparable to Douqi, it's enough. It's time to go to that cave, Su Yun's fiery eyes revealed almost without any disguise. Not to mention anything else, the advanced purple cloud wings of the Xian level is extremely precious. Flying combat skills are not even available in the old medicine world, and the method of refining them has been almost lost in the current Douqi Continent. The purple cloud wing is taken from the 5th level Warcraft Black Flame Purple Cloud carving. According to the description in the original work, the owner of the cave took 3 years to capture. It can be seen that his strength should also be at the level of Dowang. In this Gamma Empire, it is also among the top. And it should also be located in a relatively ancient era. Unfortunately, the method of refining has not been passed down. Su Yun thought greedily. With Qingshan town as the supply point and more than a month of experience in the Warcraft Mountains, the description in the original work is also very obvious. Su Yun has already figured out the location of the cave. Arriving at the cliff, Su Yun's shadow faintly appeared under the moonlight. Exploring treasures ultimately requires some caution, as compared to the daytime, there are still fewer mercenaries in the Warcraft Mountains at night. Take out a few medicine packages from the system space, sprinkle them onto the cliff, and Su Yun's figure flashes back into the system space. As a top-notch expert in Dozuan, Yao Lao has rich experience and has prepared this medicine bag based on his memory. It can expel snake monsters with lower strength. Su Yun will not miss out on the rock snakes at the entrance of the cave after reading the original work. Shoo. Just as Su Yun sprinkled medicine powder, shortly after entering the system space, the hissing of snakes came from beneath the cliff. Then a dozen or so rock snakes rose into the air and flew towards the distance. Su Yun's mind moved and he appeared again on the cliff. Without hesitation, he took out a rope and tied it to the tree, climbing towards the bottom of the cliff. The rock snake has been driven away and the journey to the cave went smoothly. In a moment, Su Yun landed at the cave. Go to the stone gate, search for 1 or 2, reach out and slightly press down on the small protrusion under the stone gate. A creaking sound followed. The stone gate gradually moved upwards. If it weren't for not wanting to make any noise, Su Yun would have wanted to burst out laughing to show his excitement. Enter the cave and collect the gold coins on the ground into the system space. Looking at those herbs again, there are white and red alternating leaves in the center. Over the past 7 months, his memories of old medicine have gradually been absorbed, and his memories of herbs have been deeply ingrained in his heart. Su-yun knows the name of this herb without having to scan the system. Ice Spirit Flame Grass. The grass leaves are divided into 2 colors. White and red. On the white branches, there are dots of ice-like objects covering them. Above the fiery red grass crown, it is like a flame burning, with 2 completely opposite colors and properties, growing strangely on a plant. Entering all the herbs into the system space, Su-yun walked towards those 3 boxes. Pop it. Someone is here. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Killing the 8-star doubler. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Killing the 8-star doubler. Su-yun's eyes stiffened. 7 months of experience, as well as the experience of being an old medicine practitioner, will not make him lose control in this situation. He doesn't have the ability to fly yet, and he came to this cave with a rope. It is reasonable for someone outside to see the rope following down. The 3 stone boxes were glued onto the stone platform, and he cannot enter the system space now. Su-yun waved his hand and put away the 3 keys. In my heart, I thought, offend. Pull off the withered arm and retract the scroll inside. Move your mind again and enter the system space. After Su-yun entered the system space, a figure held a long sword and carefully touched it out. Just as the figure arrived at the place where Su-yun had just stood, Su-yun activated the scanning function of the system in the system space. This was discovered by him during these 7 months. I don't know if it's because he was promoted to a fighter, but shortly after he arrived at the Warcraft Mountains, he noticed a change in the system's scanning function. The scanning range has expanded from 1 meter to 2 meters. As for the ability to scan the outside world in system space, Su-yun is not sure when he has it. After all, Su-yun did not try it when he was still in the Douqi Chi stage. Ding, scanning successful. Name. Fan Gender. Male cultivation. Doja 8 stars technique. Water absorption technique. Yellow level intermediate fighting skills. Yellow level advanced in water sword item. First level ice magic core sword. Have you already left? Fan carefully observed in the cave and relaxed his mind. This cave is narrow and has almost no place to hide. With confidence in his own strength, Fan slightly relaxed his guard. It's no wonder that Qingshan town, as the ceiling of Doshir, only has 1 or 2. The strength of the 8-star Do fighter, combined with a weapon embedded with a magic core, is already a character in this 1-acre 3-fun land. He took everything from this cave. Fan looked at the traces left by Su-yun using the system's recycling ability to collect gold coins and medicinal herbs, and cursed ominously. As I was about to leave, I saw 3 stone boxes on the stone table and was immediately overjoyed. There's still room left. Fan walked towards the 3 stone boxes, completely unaware of the crisis. Just as Fan was walking towards the stone box, Su-yun appeared silently behind him. Fists clenched tightly, with a faint yellow fighting aura emanating from it. After a slight silence, it hit Fan heavily. Bang! With a muffled sound, Fan's body was knocked out. Explosive, Su-yun whispered. A deeper muffled sound came from within Fan's body. Pang! There was no accident, and this newly appeared 8-star fighter could not survive a chapter. Not to blame Fantai, on the contrary, the strength of the 8-star Do is already very good in Qingshan town. Su-yun's burning cold decision has the power to compete with the lower-level martial arts of the Xian level, and 8th level collapse is also a high-level combat skill of the Xian level. It's just over Samsung, not too exaggerated. Moreover, it was still in the context of a surprise attack. The 8 extremes collapse. A high-level combat skill of the Xian level, practiced to the fullest extent. The attack contains 8 layers of powerful energy, stacked in 8 layers, and its power is comparable to that of the lower level of the Earth level. This means that only 2 layers of dark energy have been trained. If all 8 layers of dark energy can be detonated within the enemy's body, the strength of the 5-star Do can also rival that of the Do Shi. Suyun is not a wild imagination. The combat skills of the Earth level are not comparable to those of the Xian level and the Huang level. Even at a lower level, he can still compete with the Do Shi. The martial arts and fighting skills practiced by the fighters in Qingshan town are all at the yellow level, but not at the Xian level. If he had perfected the 8 extremes collapse, at the current level of burning cold, he could have walked horizontally in Qingshan town. Su Yun put away the unrealistic YY, took out 3 keys, and opened the stone box. Take away the 7-colored poison classic, purple cloud wings, and roaring lion and put them into the system space. Arriving at Fan Fan's side, he picked up the long sword in his hand. Such weapons are not uncommon in this Douqi Continent. This type of weapon equipped with a magic core not only has superior destructive power, but also has the effect of increasing fighting spirit, which is highly favored by fighters. The magic core bestowed on this long sword has an ice attribute, which is also similar to the water attribute. It also increases the effectiveness of the water attribute fighter, so it's no wonder that Fan Fan remains on it. But it's really cheaper for oneself. Su Yun chuckled. There are many first-order magic cores in Qingshan town, but magic core weapons are rare. Although there is no mention of an alchemist in this Douqi Continent, wielding magic cores also has technical content. Not to mention Qingshan town, there are not many magic nuclear weapons even in Wutan city. When Su Yun left the city of Wutan, he forgot about this and didn't come out of the local market. He also didn't have any magic nuclear weapons on him. Fan Fan also has some luck, with his strength as an 8-star fighter and this sword, he may have lived a comfortable life in Qingshan town. Su Yun has no intention of staying in the cave, and all the opportunities in the cave have been taken away, so there is no need to wait any longer. Without hesitation, Su Yun walked out of the cave and climbed up the cliff along the rope. Fold up the rope and leave here. All the way back to Qingshan town, Su Yun found an inn to stay. He usually stays inside the Warcraft Mountains. But this time we need to replenish supplies, so we will return to Qingshan town. Close the doors and windows tightly, sprinkle a sedative medicine inside the room, and Su Yun enters the system space. Leaving aside the 7-colored poison classic and the roaring lion, he first took out the purple cloud wing. Compared to the other two, it is obvious that purple cloud wings has a greater temptation for him. Su Yun's fiery eyes were undisguised as he unfolded the scroll. The purple cloud wings are dark in color, with some purple cloud patterns faintly visible. Upon closer inspection, the wings look like black steel, with a special metallic texture. The feathers also emit a faint heat. There is also a small line of characters next to purple cloud wings. Su Yun didn't take a closer look, nor was it necessary. I have already read the introduction of purple cloud wings in my past life. It is taken from the 5th level Warcraft Black Flame Purple Cloud Sculpture, a fighter who has not yet reached the level of Do King. If it is summoned to the extreme, it can have a flight speed comparable to Do King. Even faster than ordinary Do Wang, after all, it is taken from the Black Flame Purple Cloud carving. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Purple Cloud Wing. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 Purple Cloud Wing. This type of Warcraft has a thin phoenix bloodline and extremely fast flight speed. Since Purple Cloud Wings is taken from it, it inherits its speed. Su Yun is only a 5-star fighter now, and if he wants to fully motivate him, he will inevitably exhaust his fighting spirit in a short period of time. But that's enough. The short-term speed of Purple Cloud Wings, combined with the ability to instantly enter system space. This ensures that the system space is not discovered and there is no risk of being stuck in place. He had such concerns before. System space is a good means of survival, but if used too much, intelligence will eventually leak out and be targeted. The arrival of purple cloud wings just alleviated such concerns. The strongest of the Gamma Empire is nothing more than Do Wang, and the full-speed purple cloud wing is faster than Do Wang. As long as it's not for Emperor Do chasing him, he can escape with purple cloud wing and system space. Have you not seen that in the Tagore Desert, Xiao Yan is able to compete with the 3 Do kings with the help of purple cloud wings in terms of dosher cultivation? With the blessing and full force of the medicine elder, only Yun Yun, the Wind Emperor, can catch up with him by using his body techniques and fighting skills. Of course, if there is a super-sized dozone like Yun Shan, he can only find a barrier and directly enter the system space. Su Yun restrained his mind and no longer indulged in the power of purple cloud wing. Move your palms over the scroll, lightly press down on your soft wings, and take a deep breath. Shortly after touching his wings with his palm, the tyrannical eagle's soul suddenly let out a sharp cry that made his soul tremble. The sound passed through the scroll and finally, following Su Yun's arm like a drill, fiercely pounded his brain. Su Yun's whole body trembled suddenly, and his face turned a little pale out of thin air. Su Yun gritted his teeth and persevered, sticking to his heart and mind. I, like Xiao Yan, came from a blue star and was born with a strong soul. He can do it, but he can't do it without reason. Manipulating one's soul power to resist the impact of the eagle soul. Finally, after nearly 20 minutes, the eagle's soul dissipated. Ha! 5th level residual soul, terrifying as ever. Su Yun sighed and said. Taking a short rest, my palms touched the eagle's wings again. The eagle's soul has dissipated this time and has not been attacked again. Su Yun slowly moved his internal fighting spirit along the track described on the scroll inside his body. After a moment, 2 small purple-black rays penetrated into Su Yun's body, running along the meridians. When they reached the meridians on his back, they immediately stopped and pulled out 2 extremely small branches of the meridians. These 2 branches extend from the main trunk and only slowly stop when they reach the back ridge. And behind Su Yun, a pair of palm-sized black eagle wing tattoos appeared out of thin air. Success! Su Yun exclaimed with joy. Although the process was painful, the result was gratifying. Su Yun runs Douqi along 2 differentiated branches. Upon receiving the transmission of fighting spirit, the pitch-black tattoo immediately released a faint purple glow, which eventually turned into wings-like substance, and the area of the black eagle wings also expanded from the size of a palm to about half a foot. Looking back at Ziyun-Yi who appeared behind him, Su Yun's heart was filled with satisfaction. Su Yun retracted the purple cloud wing and did not continue to try. Sorted out a bit and returned to the inn. Su Yun sat cross-legged on the bed and began practicing. Now is not the time to rest, the strength of the 5-star fighter is far from enough to see. Cool. Su Yun jumped out of bed, twisted his neck, and made a crisp bone sound. The palm clenched slightly, a sense of fulfilled strength that made Su Yun's mouth tinge with joy. Breakthrough. The 6-star fighter has arrived. Su Yun looked up and smiled low. The cultivation of Douqi is not easy, and he did not obtain a very powerful golden finger. He can only move forward step by step. The leapfrog growth of playing and signing in is out of reach with him. Going further is the norm. Su Yun restrained his happy mood and once again organized his gains. He has no intention of practicing the fighting skill of Roaring Lion, and there are many fighting skills in Yao Lao's collection, which is not inferior to this one. Su Yun set his sights on the 7-colored poison classic, which could be helpful to him. Yao Lao has indeed seen a lot and knowledge. In terms of strange stories and mainland knowledge, Yao Lao is definitely better than this 7-colored poison classic. Yao is always an old and unscrupulous person, and can even be said to be a lecherous person, but he is considered to be honest and upright. In terms of poison, it is not deeply involved. In addition, with a background in the medicine clan and a high starting point, even when expelled from the medicine clan, he had the strength of a 3-star fighting master. Later on, he sang high all the way and achieved rapid progress in cultivation. There is no research on low-end poisons, so it's okay to detoxify them, but configuring low-level poisons it's difficult to force others. Su Yun has no background and does not consider himself a bad person, but he also does not want to be a good person. Good people don't live long. Su Yunshin nodded on the 7-colored poison classic, and then on herself, system, fusion. Ding, fusible solution detected. Ding, you need to consume a first-order magic core. Do you want to merge it? Fusion. At the moment when Su Yun said about fusion, a first-order magic core in the system warehouse disappeared, and a mysterious feeling surged into Su Yun's heart. In just a moment, the content of the 7-colored poison classic was completely mastered by Su Yun. Su Yun's development of the system has deepened over time. This system, although its functions are rudimentary, also contains infinite possibilities. The extent to which it can be used depends entirely on how the user uses it. This newly discovered usage can also be applied to combat skills, but the magic core consumed is not that simple. Unadvanced miscellaneous books consume first-order magic cores yellow level low-level and intermediate consume first-level magic cores yellow level advanced consumption second-level magic core xian level low-level and intermediate consume third-level magic cores xuanjia advanced consumption fourth-order magic core earth level low-level and intermediate consume fifth-level magic cores. As for going further up, I don't know. The martial arts and combat skills of the ground level are really rare, as can be seen from the original Chinese medicine book Lao Rang Xiaoyan's choice between the lower-level martial arts of the ground level and the burning decision. The earth-level martial arts and combat techniques are extremely rare even in Zhongzhou. When Su Yun discovered this use, he was overjoyed for a moment, but he almost vomited blood when he saw that the advanced combat skills of the Xian level required the consumption of the 4th-level magic core. Poor Su Yun, he has only now reached the level of 2 layers of dark energy in the cultivation of 8 extremes collapse. But this is also very good. The 8 extremes collapse is really special, just the fierce explosive power on the surface can be comparable to the intermediate level combat skills of the Xian level. This is also reflected in the original work. When Xiao Yan and Lu Shi met for the first time, Galio challenged Xiao Yan in order to stand out. At that time, Xiao Yan had already overcome his reputation as a waste and had made great progress with the help of Yao Lao. Lu Shi and Galio also coveted Xiao Suner. Xiao Yan naturally responded and started fighting on the spot. Galio's talent is not good, but he is slightly older. Xiao Yan has extraordinary talent and is the son of fate. Coincidentally, both of them were 3-star fighters. At that time, Xiao Yan had not yet mastered the dark power of the 8 extremes collapse. He only relied on the explosive power of the surface to compete with Galio's low-level and mysterious fighting skills, but won the battle. What is even more puzzling is that at that time, Xiao Yan's burning decision did not evolve once, it was the lowest level of yellow rank. And Galio's training is the advanced level of the Xian level wind scrolls, and the green wind spin fist used as a low-level combat technique that matches the Xian level of wind scrolls. The combat skills that are matched with the martial arts are usually much stronger than those of the same level. Galio's cultivation of wind scrolling decision and the use of green wind spinning fist did not reach the power of the intermediate level of the Xian level, but it is definitely stronger than the lower level of the Xian level. Burning Judgment also has a cross-level feature, but at that time, Burning Judgment was only at the lowest level of the yellow level, at most comparable to the middle level of the yellow level, and far from the high level of the Xian level. Xiao Yan, who was at the same level, was able to win the battle even though his martial arts were inferior, because of the story in the 8 extremities collapse. Even the 8 extremes collapse, which only has explosive power on the surface, has power comparable to the intermediate level combat skills of the Xian level, and even surpasses it. At least it is equivalent to the intermediate level combat skills of the Xuanjia level that are matched with the martial arts. And as long as you practice a layer of dark energy, you are worthy of the name of the advanced combat skills of the Xuanjia level. As for the low-level combat skills comparable to the ground level in the introduction, they must be stacked 8 times. Terraces are not something that can be crossed, they are already another level. End of this chapter.